Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Gino.
How's it going?
I am doing all right.
Me too.
This is episode 99 of BFS Live. Brand new studio. Switched to a different computer. All new everything. Hopefully this works. I had a couple train wrecks happen a couple weeks ago. But
I'm along for the ride.
yeah, this is Gino Fanelli. You are a investigative journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And you work for...
I work for WXXI, the local NPR station, and City Magazine as well.
Cool. I told a lot of people you were coming on, and everyone seems to say, that name sounds familiar.
Yeah, I've been around a good bit, yeah.
And even when you came into the shop a couple weeks ago, I was like, you look familiar.
Yeah. It's weird because I've been doing this job for like 10 years, but I've always been like a print radio journalist.
Yeah.
And now they have me doing like videos and stuff, and now like people know my face. So it's weird being recognized places.
I'm just realizing.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. This is not right. This microphone faces forward.
Ah, okay.
That probably sounds... I was like, why does this seem weird?
Is that better?
I'm sure that sounded great for the audio listeners. And, yeah, all right. That looks better. Now the mic's not in your face and I could see you.
Cool.
And it probably... Now you're peeking a little bit. It'll pull you down. All right. DIY or die. All right, so yeah, you're an investigative journalist. You previously were a skateboarder. Recently
Grew
did
up
that.
with it, yeah.
Yeah, you recently did that story about the downtown park. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But first, give me your 2 minute who are you? What's the deal?
Yeah, so I'm an investigative journalist. I been doing this job for like a little over 10 years now. I've mainly in newspapers. I worked I was down in Maryland for a while, and I'm from Rochester originally, and I really love the city. So I ended up moving back here and like just kind of pushing to, get a career here. So I worked at the Rochester Business Journal when I moved back in 2017. Not my place, a little corporate for me. Just didn't really fit my environment. And I got hired to City Magazine back in 2019. I've been there ever since. Now they're kind of merged with WXXI completely. But yeah, no, I write about a lot of different stuff, but just really, deeper dives into a lot of issues, police misconduct, a lot of government stuff, a lot of civil rights stuff, housing, just a lot of things that I find interesting and I think are, important. I get to really just, go full bore into like trying to hold people accountable and trying to, make sense of things that are really complicated, and hope I do a good job with it. But yeah, I always loved that whole thing of being able to, be a voice for the voiceless kind of thing, and, hold the powers that be to some kind of account. So I really love that about the job, and yeah, that's me basically. That's what I do, and yeah, it's great. Love it.
How does one get into journalism? Did you from a young age where you're like, I'm going to be a journalist? How did you end up a journalist?
So when I was younger, I was like a really rebellious kid, and had no plans at all for a future in my life when I was a teenager.
You're talking to the right audience.
Yeah, no, exactly. All I really wanted to do was skateboard and smoke weed with my friends. Like that was like all I was interested in. But I had always loved writing, and my parents were just insistent, you got to go to college, because that's what everyone does at the time. And I'm like, okay, what do I go to college for? And at the time, I either wanted to go for writing or I wanted to play jazz guitar, and I wasn't good enough at guitar to warrant going to music school. So I went to I really wanted to be a fiction writer. I really liked writing horror stories and stuff like that. So, but that's, you got to get real lucky, and it's not a lucrative market to go into school for English to learn how to, write short stories and stuff like that. So I did walk through at RIT when they were just starting their journalism program, which is now dead because the world is what it is. And they were pushing hard for me going into the journalism program there, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't know how I feel about it at all, but I'm gonna go to college, I might as well do it. And at a certain point, probably my second year there, I started working for the student magazine. I started doing like freelance stuff, and kind of realized like this is like probably like the most free you could feel in a job of like you get to go into places. You have no one you answer to besides whoever is editing you. You can just be as you can be nice, you can be mean, you can be inquisitive, you can be you can do a lot of things to like realize that it doesn't have to be fiction. Like the world is full of stories, and really good ones, really sad ones, heavy ones, complicated ones. And I guess I just kind of fell in love with that aspect of it, of trying to find like, okay, well, what is the story with like whatever is happening here? And sometimes it's really simple, sometimes it's not. And so I was like 20 at the time, and I just fully committed to it, doing as much work as I could for whoever would want me to write stuff for them. And somehow got a job when I graduated, and have been able to keep jobs since. I mean, I've been laid off, as the world of journalism kind of is, but I seem to be able to land on my feet pretty easily. So I've just been doing it ever since. It's like the only job I've had as an adult. I went from like working in like, fry cook kitchens when I was a teenager, and then just immediately, this is my career. This is the only thing I ever want to do. And here I am now. I'm 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty sick. It just, when you're just describing how you just have to pick what you wanted, how you write the article, sad, happy, whatever. It sounds like skateboarding. Like you pick the style you want, the tricks you want, the battles you want. Like it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you get to have that creativity too.
Yeah.
Of like, you can approach things the way you want to approach things, and sometimes it doesn't work, and you have to learn that lesson on your own. And I'm lucky; I've gotten to work with like a lot of great, editors and photographers over the years that like constantly give me a new perspective of how to approach them. And like just I've interviewed thousands of people at this point, and like every time you learn a little bit more about like how to approach people, how to understand people in different situations, having empathy, but also like getting answers to questions is it sounds a lot simpler than it is, though. Like it can be really complicated.
I'm learning that. Yeah, I've been, I don't know, this episode 99, we started doing around 68, so I've had like 30 or so 2-hour interviews, and like I'm learning the craft of interviewing. Like people like to talk, but there's that like, and everyone's a little bit different, and some people you're trying to get it out of them.
Yeah.
Some people just talk, and you try to slow them down. Some people, you're massaging the conversation. It is totally an art. It's a skill and an art.
And you always, like in time, always you find yourself in situations you've never been in before. And I'll give you an example. About a year and a half ago, Max Schulte, a photographer.
Yeah.
So I work very closely with him, and we were doing a series on cold case homicides, just really examining like the circumstances of these deaths, and how they affected the families and the investigations and stuff like that. So we ended up meeting up with the wife of a murder victim from like 18 years ago, and she had offered to take us to her husband's grave. And when we got there, we're doing this interview, and I've interviewed people in traumatic situations more times than I could count, just hundreds of times. But this one, she was telling the story, which I didn't know before I started interviewing her, that her their first child together had died too, and was buried at that cemetery. And when her husband was murdered, they actually dug up the baby's coffin and buried it on top of the father. And she's telling me the story like just I'm learning about it right there as she's telling it to me. And I've never been in a situation like that, where like someone is telling me like a story that is like one of the most horrific things I've ever heard in my entire life. And like it happened so long ago that you can't even, and seeing how much like it still was like, it killed this woman. Like she was like, she never moved on. And then that was like the beginning of the interview. And then I had to do it for another, 45 minutes. That was well into my career, seasoned reporter, still like one of the most like, holy shit, like this is heavy. And So you still get moments, and then like since then, there's been moments still like where like I've never dealt with something like that before, and so it's always something new, which is something I love about it, but also like hard to prepare for, hard to be ready for, like how tough things can be. And the only bright side to it is sometimes you gotta be grateful of the life you do have, because a lot of people have had a lot worse runs.
Oh, for sure. I've had a rough go of it when I was younger, but I don't ever really lament about it because I know just how much rougher it could be.
Yeah, it's helpful to put things. Everyone struggles with stuff, and putting into perspective though, and you always have to do that of like the context of things is. There's always someone who has it better than you, and there's always people that have it much worse. So you have to just be grateful for what you have, and don't sit around crying about all the things that you don't. So and just back to like just the whole job thing. It is just something I really do love about it is you get to meet. Not just meet people, but meet people, like who they are, and like the things that sometimes like you have to be like a bit of a therapist in the job, but getting someone to trust you like that and try to honor that trust a little bit. I think it's an important thing still, and like that's the way of the world right now. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what journalism is, but it's there's real power in that, and it's a good thing. It can be a really great thing. Yeah.
To your point there about the conceptions about journalism, my conception was always that you kind of, I would expect journalists to go into stuff with like a blank slate, extracting details, and then telling the story like as the cards lie on the table, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It seems like a lot of nowadays there's a lot of like, I guess, bias in it. Like there's almost like journalists, they know the story they want to write, and then they try to make it fit into whatever, I don't know, bias or agenda or whatever. Is that kind of what you were alluding to there?
Yeah, I mean, I think like, I work in public media. Like we just had our funding pulled by the federal administration, and that sucks. And for the reason that like that we are woke propaganda, I think is the term that the president has used to describe it. But you're right. I mean, like the point of the job is to collect. My old editor, Dave Andriato, I worked with very closely, always used the phrase, it's the closest version of the truth. In that we take all available facts, everything we can possibly find, and then just try to put that into a narrative. That is what good journalism does. There's always going to be people that even when presented with all of those facts and be like, well, I think differently. I don't agree with that, or whatever it might be, because of their political leanings, because of their biases about the world. With the internet, the big problem is like it's very lucrative to open up a website where all you do is publish things that already reaffirm all the things people already believe, all the things they think.
Yeah, the narrative that you already want to
and
promote or whatever.
People love that shit because it makes them feel like I'm right about everything. I don't even have to think about, things critically because this website or this article or this pundit or whatever it might be is telling me I'm right about everything. And that's really, really, it's a seductive thing. Like it's...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and, the fact of the matter is the world is a complicated place. If you believe you have all the answers to everything, you're wrong. No one has an innate understanding of how the world works, and whatever political leaning you have, you're wrong about something and you're right about something else. And most of the time some people are completely wrong about things, and it's tough because now you have to make the argument of why people like me, why the job matters to people that have already made up their mind that it doesn't. One, because they have found something that they want to call real journalism because it makes them feel right about everything. And two, because those exact same sources are telling you don't trust, journalists from the, quote unquote mainstream media. But like, the reality is like, if I wanted to just make stuff up and put it into a story, I couldn't do it if I wanted to. Like, as soon as it goes through like 3 different people before it gets published, we would all have to be colluding with each other. And no, like if I handed over something that had like one dubious claim in it, my editor would immediately be like, "What the hell is this? Like, take it out, or we're killing it." Like, I don't think people realize the amount of layers that things have to go through before they're published from, like, quote unquote real journalistic outlets. When a website can just publish whatever they want to, they can just say whatever they want to, and there is no oversight there. And I don't know. I don't think there's any other word for it but propaganda. So I think that is kind of where we're at with that kind of stuff.
Are you saying there's nuance and complexity in the world?
Yeah. It's a crazy thing, isn't it? Yeah. I don't know what's happened, but like it feels like we've lost that idea that the world is not a very, very simple black and white place. It isn't, and it is so complicated. Like, just pretty much anything, any simple thing in the world, how a grocery store operates, how a computer is made, how a website works. No one person can make any of those things function. Like there's knowledge that has to be shared among many people to make anything in this world function.
I don't know, a skate park, bud.
Well, okay, fair. There's some things out there.
In your skating days, were you ever involved in any video projects?
A little bit, yeah. I wasn't super like, into it at the time. But yeah, I mean, we would like film stuff like with cheap camera phones at the time and stuff like that. And God, I think all that footage is long. I hope it's
How old are you?
Long gone. I'm 32.
Okay, you're a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
I think because when I was a kid, there was no camera phones.
I was a kid. The first generation of like smartphones were like coming out when I was maybe like 16. So
it's like when you were talking about that like journalism paradigm there, and like it reminded me of my days making bike videos where the rider, because I was the one filming and editing the video, right? So I was like trying to make this cohesive project. We're taking trips, we're filming parts. Here's my rider, right? You're my dude, you're riding. There are certain aspects of your riding that I really want to showcase in this section we're going to put together, right? Mm-hmm. Now the rider always has a different conception. They have more bias where they're like, no, I want my riding. I'm trying to ride like this guy. I want my clips to look like this. I want to ride this kind of spot. I want to blah, blah, blah. You were saying more of like the propaganda style journalist versus, a more unbiased reporter, me making the video. It's like, no, like I'm watching you ride, and like there are aspects of this that I want to show the world. And it wasn't always in line with who the rider thought they were.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the whole idea of objectivity, right? That you could sit on the outside and like see something that the person who's directly involved in it can't see. Sometimes you're too close to things to like, take full stock of them. That's just I don't know. In my world, the whole idea of objectivity too is a lot of people don't understand that. Like, is objectivity just if one side is just talking complete and total nonsense with no basis in reality, and the other one has like a mountain of academic text saying that, this is the case. Is it objective to focus more on the one that has evidence behind it, or is it objective to play both sides and say both are equally valuable?
Well, personally, I like the one that makes me feel better about my
exactly. Most people do. But I would say it's not objective to like just entertain nonsense because just people are saying it. Yeah.
Has there ever been a story you were working on where you had to like check yourself or catch yourself in your own bias on something and have to like maybe pull back a little bit?
Yeah, I think it happened a lot when I was younger. It's hard to find like specific examples, but I think like working in political stuff, like I would I guess I got along better with like a lot of like the more, lefty kind of politicians and but sometimes they do bad stuff too, and like at a certain point I think like many years ago, honestly, at this point, but like I have so little faith in everyone and any ideology or belief system. If anyone knew, like, as well as I do at this point, that like everyone's full of shit.
Oh, yeah.
No one knows what they're doing. No one knows how to accomplish things. Everyone's seeking power,
Yeah.
and everyone's seeking control. It makes it a lot easier to like not be like bleeding heart towards one subject and like real harsh on another when they're they deserve the same kind of treatment. So that makes it a lot. The whole total and complete nihilism I've developed makes it a lot easier to do the job. I think effectively and the way it should be done. Which I think a lot of good journalists end up that way, where like you still believe things and like have ideologies and beliefs, but at a certain point, like you recognize that, like, yeah, no, all these people are the same. Like everyone's the same. They're all doing the same thing. You can't treat anyone differently than anyone else.
Yeah, not that I want to get too political because this isn't a political podcast. Like there's like
I'm gonna get myself in trouble too.
I like politics, like I like a sport where I don't really have a team I like. There's certain fundamentals I like of the game,
Yeah.
There's certain like like I don't agree with him, but he's playing the angle right or whatever. The thing that always really irks me is you'll see one side and they will attack the other side, not always on the substance of their argument or even the policy, just about like the person, something they did in their personal life, right?
Yeah.
And then they're completely sanguine when someone on their side of the aisle does something equally as ignominious, like cheats on their wife or some other public nonsense, which is, in my opinion, I think should be almost completely separated in many cases.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of like, we want and it's unfortunate reality that like right now, particularly, people treat politicians like heroes. Like they're deified in this way that I don't remember it being like that when I was like growing up. Like, but now it's just, there's so many cults of personalities and everything. But yeah, it's like you are willing to excuse all of someone's bad behavior because that's my guy. But if the guy you don't like was doing the exact same things, you would like want to crucify them.
Yeah.
And to me, that's like the core principle of hypocrisy. Like that's all it is. And that just shows to me someone who doesn't actually have convictions. They just have like, fanboy syndrome. And I don't know. I come across a lot of people like that. And I always try to have good conversations with people about like their, beliefs around things. And, I've gotten so much hate over the years for this job, and tried to like understand, like, okay, like, why are you mad at me? Like, I'm like, I'm not as interesting as you think I am. And it's always just like, a lot of the times I think it's people that are just angry at the world, and you find someone to take it out on. If that helps you, then sure, like you're not hurting my feelings, so use me if you need it. But
it sounds like you've been on the internet.
I have been on the internet, unfortunately. I'm trying to use it less now. Like it's crazy on there, and it's only getting worse. Like, that's a great place for just like the loneliest, angriest people on the planet.
Oh yeah.
And I'm not lonely or angry. What the hell am I doing on there?
Well, I got two things for you. One is, you get the most flack when you're over the target.
Yes.
And you're in the right place when the criticisms that are coming after you are contradicting each other, right? When you get some people in the comments saying X and then some people in the comments saying the opposite of X, both trying to tell you why you're wrong, it means you're real close to being really right because they don't like it and they don't know why, but they're just throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks.
I think they're like my favorite. I remember there's like this instance. I think it was like a year ago. I do this series of stories every year on how much police overtime costs.
Ooh.
Which is a lot, by the way.
I bet.
And I got two people responding to me like within like 2 minutes of each other, like responding to the story. One calling me a pro-cop propagandist, and one calling me like an Antifa anti-cop. I'm like, dude, like if I'm both, like I think I'm pretty close. Like I think I'm right down the middle here. So yeah, and I've realized that like when you don't like openly take like a stance on politics or positions, people use their imaginations to fill in the gaps.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they get even madder about that than when like you're open about it. Like it's like they can't figure out your motivation, so it frustrates them more. And I don't know. I try to like do some like armchair psychology with stuff like that, and I don't understand it, but it's still it's interesting.
It seems like things started really going crazy around like maybe 2015, 2016, and since then, and especially in like maybe around COVID and on, everything seems like a political Rorschach test.
Yeah.
Like no matter what the issue is, I spent a decent amount of time on Twitter just like taking in the zeitgeist, and it's like no matter what happens, there are people arguing that the exact same event validates their bias from both sides on every issue all the time.
Yeah, it's whatever you want to feel, whatever you want to believe, like whatever you think. Like if you truly believe in your ideology, you're never going to think that it's wrong.
Yeah.
And I guess I just don't think that way. So like it's hard for me to like understand it. But it's apparently just that's how most people think in the world, that like it's everything is put through the lens of what I already, my already existing preconceptions about how the world works. And I think the only way you can beat that is like you have to try to do it. You have to like break out of your bubble. Like you have to be willing to listen to people that you don't agree with or that you think are wrong about fundamentally everything. And sometimes you're going to find that you still think, yeah, that person doesn't know what they're talking about or that person is insane. But sometimes you find that, like, actually, I have a lot more in common with most people, regardless of our political beliefs, than I do with the people in power, the people that have, money, elite people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%.
If anything, the people that hold the cards love it when you guys are fighting with each other.
Oh, yeah. One of my favorite thinkers of the day, he always says that Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi have far more in common with each other than you do with either one of them.
100%.
And that I think that is totally the right paradigm to be thinking about it.
And the way a lot of people like view the world as just like, a temporarily disadvantaged millionaire where like they scream about welfare and social programs and stuff like that, and it's just like you're one or two or three mistakes from ending up on the street than you are from ending up in a mansion with $50 million in the bank. And it is fascinating that there's so many people out there that like I don't know what it is either. Like maybe it's just like an ego thing of like feeling like I am someone who is deserving of wealth even if I don't have it. But it's the kind of thing that's like, yeah, there's a belief that people are lesser if they need help. Even if I'm one of those people that needs help, I'm different from everyone else. And I think that's an ideology I see a lot, and it's becoming way more pervasive. Like it's there's just so much hate among people just for like struggling, and that's the kind of thing that scares me a lot about like where we're at in like our social ecosystem. There's no compassion left. Everyone's just full of anger and rage towards one another.
Well, yeah, we definitely have more alike. We're more alike than unalike. But I think it's beneficial to keep everyone thinking we're not alike.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that there are massive media ecosystems, very, very well funded, that are designed to keep promoting that idea that you are different from the immigrants. You are different from people that are a different color from you. You are different from everyone else, and you deserve more. And sad reality is, I don't think anyone deserves anything in this life, but you have to.
No, you don't deserve anything you didn't earn. Full stop.
Exactly.
And that's something that's maybe it's from your background in skateboarding. It's like I think a lot of skateboarders get a little rubbed weird by those sorts of ideas because it's like if you didn't land the trick, you didn't land the trick. Full stop. Nothing else. That's it.
Yeah, and you have to struggle for some things sometimes, and
I'm turning the air conditioning.
yeah, it's getting warm in here. It's I guess it's a complicated thing for me because
Shit.
I think that we do have like a very pervasive culture of like everyone's owed something.
Oh yeah.
And it's both sides of the political spectrum do go deep into this kind of stuff. Now, like, I think of like the whole like incel culture thing. I was just watching the documentary about that dude who killed all those sorority girls in Idaho.
Okay.
He just got sentenced. But he was like from that whole internet subculture of like dudes who can't get laid and are like just so mad at the world about it. And I'm like, yeah, but like you're not owed anything in the world, dude. Like if you accepted that, you might be doing better out there.
Those dudes should have been skateboarding, bro.
Yeah, and it's against the internet thing. You find a community on there of a bunch of other dudes who are angry at the world for reasons that like are totally within their control. And
there's also the other side of it where the people that do stuff actually think they're owed something.
Yeah, and that's
What I'm saying, sorry, let me phrase it better. Like there's people that haven't done anything and they think they're entitled to something they didn't even earn. Then there's people who have earned stuff and they think they should have gotten more for what they did.
Yeah, I mean, we have a really I think it's just across the board a problem with entitlement in this, just the where we're at in the world right now. We have so many conveniences at our fingertips that, like, people couldn't dream of 100 years ago.
Oh, yeah, dude.
But, like, it's like squaring that and the fact that, like, life is still tough. Like, yeah, we got Grubhub now, but, like, also, like, I can't afford a house. So, like, I think, like, it's a combination of those two things of, like, I want everything at my fingertips all the time, in any single way. But the very basic things of life are much harder to attain than they were,
Yeah, this is an area, like, I guess we're talking all social and politics, this episode, whatever. This is an issue where, like, I actually don't agree with elements from both sides of the spectrum on this one, where, like, it's totally harder to buy a house and to do everything now than it used to be, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
But people also spend a lot of crap on stuff they don't need, but it's probably because everything looks so unattainable. They're like, well, screw it, I'm just going to go to brunch and get the mimosa and I'm going to have food delivered because F it, why not? Like when it seems unattainable, you're not even going to try.
It's like the mentality of my entire generation. I do it too. Like, I get paid and it's like, do I want to like put money away to like eventually buy a house? And like, dude, like if I would have started saving up 5 years ago, the amount that I had planned to put a down payment on a house would be worth like nothing to do it now because everything has gone up so much. So I might as well just go out to dinner. Like, I might as well just like buy video games or whatever it is I want to buy at that point in time. I think that there's a real defeatist kind of attitude to it that, like, yeah, the American dream that we were sold as kids, like, is really difficult to attain now. And and
we also haven't had to struggle. Like, we're close in age, but like our parents were raised by people who went through World War II rations, so they were like they've been through some real struggle. No one here has really been through any real like nationwide struggle. Like we haven't had to ration anything. We haven't had it's just not the same. And if you never had that pressure on you, you just don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we haven't gone through any like real tragic national event. Like COVID was the closest thing, but like that wasn't. I mean, it was weird and it sucked, and there was like a lot of bad things that came along with it. But it wasn't like our entire society was collapsing around us.
Well, we've just always had that you can just get whatever you want whenever you want, increasingly so, to where, like, you go on Amazon, if you can't have it in 2 days, you're like, what the hell? I want it tomorrow. I want it on my porch by 7 a.m. Why can't I find the thing I want for only $12 and have it tomorrow, you know, and you have the carrot is just dangled in front of you all the time. You get drunk on it.
And it's so amazing too, because like when that stuff first came available, like man, I ordered this and it's here 2 days later. And now you order it and it's like, it's not next day. Like, it's 2 days to get here. Like it's crazy how accustomed we have become to like just almost invasive convenience. Like everything.
Invasive convenience. That is a amazing term.
I just came up with it right here.
Oh my God, I'm writing it down.
That we just like everything in the world is at our fingertips, and when it's not, we become very, very frustrated about it. And back to the whole point about just like, you know, information and journalism and stuff like that, is it plays into that if it's not something you can immediately understand and understand all the nuances of it, most people are going to be, you know what, I'm just going to like think I know what the answer is and I'm just going to go with that. And it's all just part of like the culture we're in now.
Yeah.
It's a very just immediate gratification kind of culture.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going to think about this term invasive convenience for like the next 2 weeks straight. That is a stroke of brilliance there,
Thank
Gino.
you. Appreciate
Holy shit,
it.
dude. I love ideas like that. That's so... You know, are you familiar with the economist Eric Weinstein?
I don't think so.
He like worked with Peter Thiel. He had a podcast briefly. He's like an interesting guy. He has like an alternate theory to Einstein. It's just, yeah, weird. But he has this idea he calls it the ego, embedded growth obligation. And that basically post World War II, there was so much economic boom, we just got used to it. And we assumed that there's embedded growth obligation. And since then, we have found all these ways to like bastardize the free market into like just cheating our way into thinking there's all this growth when a lot of it isn't real growth. It's just like manipulation.
And that's like the whole way like Silicon Valley works. It's like
Everything,
it's all speculation, investing, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much of it, and like, it's a really pernicious idea. Like even the idea, like the idea that you should get a raise every year. Let's just pretend like inflation for a second. Let's take inflation off the table. But the premise that you should just get a raise every year is part of the ego. To where like I own a business, I don't have employees, right? If I have employees, if they're worth paying, I'd love to pay them, right? And if they're growing with the business and learning new skills, I will pay them for the new skills, right? But if you're doing the same job you've always done and you're not getting better at your job, you're not bringing anything new to the table, there's no reason why you should get paid more for that same job. Except for, in corporate America, we have the embedded growth obligation. I make less money at my business now, 9 years in, than I've made ever. And then I hear people have normal corporate jobs or whatever, and they're like, I only got X raise this year. I'm like, good for you. Like, the idea of embedded growth obligation, all that means is eventually you're going to price yourself out of the job. They keep giving you a raise every year. Eventually, your replacement, although worse at your job, is worth that lower cost, that lower skill set employee is worth it because you've become so expensive.
And isn't like that like an entire mentality that screws over the younger generation too? It's like you end up bankrupting yourself, paying for people that are older and older that might be becoming more inept at what they do too.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually, by the time it's your turn to reap the rewards of that, there's nothing left.
Yeah. How often do you come across someone who's been doing something forever and they're still terrible at their job and they get paid so much money to do it?
All the time.
And then there's someone young and hungry who's right there ready for it and they just can't get their foot in the door because fucking Larry whatever has been here for 20 years and he's horrible at his job. You know?
Yeah, but that's Larry. You know, he works here. Like, so we can't let him go. You know, and like I'm not like a believer in like the full meritocracy thing where like you should get paid. I think everyone deserves fundamentally a living wage. But there is this thing where I feel like we're in this kind of world where everyone feels like they're waiting to be rewarded at any point in time just for like, you know, being a good boy and going to work. And like, I just, that's just what you do though. Like, I don't understand. Well, I don't know.
Well, basically everyone I know wants to get paid the maximum they could possibly get paid and do the minimum they could possibly do. Not everyone, but most people. I know some people who are amazing at their jobs and work their ass off and are just like trying to get there. But most people do a bare minimum and expect to get paid a premium for it. And those people all suck. But the other thing I would say is like, I really despise the term living wage because living wage is based on like how you choose to live your life, and everyone lives their life differently. Like I said, I know I'm different. I'm an anomalous person. I work my ass off, and I have built my life around what I thought the skate park could make as income. It makes less than that, and I'm still managing to make it work. But like I brought home like 12 grand last year. And based on how many hours I work, I make $240 an hour. But I bought my house at a good deal. My mortgage is really affordable. I split everything with my wife, and it works because I put the yin and the yang together.
Mm.
It's just living wage. I mean, living wage in Webster versus Rochester is different. In Rochester versus Utah is different. It's like it's such a weird term.
I think the fundamental idea that I would say living wage means to me is that wherever you live, if you're working in that place, you should be able to afford, if you're by yourself, a 1-bedroom apartment. You should be able to afford groceries that are like, you're not eating filet mignon and lobster every night, but you can afford to eat, and you can afford to keep your utilities on, and maybe have a little bit left over to put into a bank. That I would say is just like the fundamental standard that we should have people at. Just in a society. That's just me though. Like I think that if like minimum wage in New York has gone up quite a bit, but the federal is still at $7.50.
Yeah. Well, at $7.50, effectively there isn't a minimum wage because basically no one's going to work anywhere for $7.50.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. But under the assumption that someone was offering that kind of pay, in 1995. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But now that's literally nothing. Like that's, it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, but at the same time, no one like if I could, I mean, if most business like if you were shout out plumbing skaters in the chat. He said he missed you at the pub crawl.
Oh man, yeah, I didn't make it this year. I was, I have no excuse. I just didn't go this year.
So if he wanted to hire an apprentice at $7.50 an hour. He's not going to find an apprentice because everyone else is hiring an apprentice at whatever $20 an hour. So like, at a certain point, it almost doesn't exist.
And there's the idea that the market will eventually price out the need for a minimum wage too, which I think is like the common like capitalist belief behind it is that the market will dictate what wages are.
I mean, that's my belief. I mean, I'll look that up. That's interesting. I wonder how many people actually make the federal minimum wage. It's an interesting idea.
I'm sure there's places like. I would say probably like Arkansas, Louisiana, like that they still do, but it's probably not very common at this point. But yeah, I mean, it's just, which is like that always annoyed me too about like a lot of people arguing like we need to raise the minimum wage to the federal level. It stayed the same forever, and like show me the data though, like of how many people are actually earning it, and like maybe it's worth changing. Then, but
it feels more symbolic than anything.
Yeah,
like for me, like, okay, I wish that if you were under 18 and working part time, minimum wage was either didn't exist or was some lower number. Because the problem is, if any business wants to hire a 15-year-old, they're going to be basically useless, and you're going to have to teach them everything. So if I hire someone here, I basically am going to lose money because I'm taking away from my time because I literally have to teach these kids how to sweep properly. That's not even a joke. Like, these kids don't even know how to use a freaking broom. And now it's $15.50 an hour in New York State. Mm-hmm. It's likely I'll never have another employee again because it's completely unsustainable for a business that makes as little money as me to do that. And that's tragic. Because a skate park is a perfect place for a bunch of 14 and 15-year-olds to get their first job and just kind of understand, like, you show up at time. You're not on your phone all the time. Like, hang out. Like, sell some Gatorades, sweep a little bit. Like, the problem is so many kids now never do that, and they don't get their first job until they're in their 20s, and they don't understand a lot of the basics of just, like, being at work.
Yeah, and it's a disservice to everyone, I think. And, I think a big part of it, too, is just like we live in a system that decentivizes low-level workers to begin with. We're starting to be able to automate things more. I'm just thinking like bigger industry kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah,
but
skilled trades is totally where it's at right now.
yeah, skilled. I mean, God, if I would have done my life over. My dad's a plumber, and
Dude, so many people went to college for things that AI is just about to obliterate. AI's never gonna be in your basement like Nick was last week for me snaking my drain. AI's not building you a skate park.
It's not. And what sucks is like my job, like every TV station here, they've all adopted it. And I think even like the Democratic Chronicle is using a little bit of it now. But like, I'm just reading articles that are completely unintelligible, and then there's see at bottom in italics, AI assisted in formatting this article, and it's like, shit, man, like, that's scary. Like, I'm literally reading something a robot wrote.
Yeah.
But like, the kind of stuff I do, there's some things that could never be automated, and then the unfortunate reality is there's some things that could. An AI is never going to be able to go out and, track people down and convince them to talk, gain their trust, stuff like that. But a lot of like what media is now is not stuff where you need to do things like that. I mean, I'm among a kind of a dying breed of reporters that still do that kind of work.
Oh, yeah.
I would argue that it's probably like, you can probably count on one hand the amount of people left in Rochester that still are doing like, thorough investigative journalism. When at one point in time, I mean, there was like 40, 50 of them. That's gone. They're all gone. And a lot of them are old, retiring, and, people my age, there's very few. Very, very few. And it sucks too, because like part of it makes the mentality in my head be like, okay, is the job just antiquated? But really, my core belief is like it's more important than ever. It's just we are in this weird time period where there's too much out there. There's too much information at everyone's fingertips that, trying to demonstrate what your value is not going to be something you can do until it's already gone. And that's like the scariest thought that still like exists in my world, I guess.
I totally agree. Your job is more important than ever. So much content on the internet now is AI, and it's getting, being someone that's worked in photo and video my whole life, it's been pretty easy to spot AI. It's starting to get hard to spot AI, even if you have a good eye for digital content. And AI can't do what you do, but a lot of stuff can very easily look like it's real. And most people, like right now, like all our parents will fall for this stuff because they don't have the eye for digital media. But it's getting to the point where people, even like us that are tech savvy, are going to fall for it. So investigative journalism is always going to be super important.
Yeah, and it sucks where like when you get to the point where like I can't trust anything on the internet anymore. But like I had to get to that point because like Google put out that new like AI video thing that they have. I forget what it's called. But I'm like watching some of them and like this is like the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life, and like this can only be used for evil. Like I don't understand why this exists. Like what could you possibly do that is beneficial to humankind with something like this? I can create something indistinguishable from reality and just blast it out into the world just by typing in a few prompts.
Oh yeah.
Scary. Don't like it. It makes me very worried about what the future looks like. Kids growing up with it and stuff. Like,
yeah.
Are they going to have like a different eye for it, or are they just going to accept like, yeah, there's a different reality on the internet? And
I think the future is live video. I mean, you could still like this show could still be faked if you made it in AI and then used a program like I'm using to play the video and then ran it through YouTube as live. You could fake live, but for the most part, like this sort of medium resolution, a little rough around the edges, I think this is going to be the future of social media because you'll know it's real. You know, like your right now, if we're on Instagram or YouTube and it says, "Oh, this guy is live," you know, like that's happening live, or you should at least likely to be live.
Now, here's a question I have: do you think people care that it's real?
No, I think a lot of people don't care.
And that's worse, right?
Yes.
Like, it's one thing to be tricked, and another thing to be like, yeah, it's fake, but I like it, so it's whatever.
I think you just broke my heart a little bit. You
Yeah.
know?
Well, yeah. Welcome to my world, man.
Dude, I listened to a podcast with two journalists, and they were talking about exactly this, and they were basically saying that investigative journalism, especially at the high level, is very expensive.
Yeah,
You're paying someone to go potentially all over the world to interview people that do all these things, and in the end, there might not even be a story. So you're paying for hotels and all kinds of stuff, versus to what you said earlier. We could just bend everything that happens to this particular narrative, whatever it may be.
Yeah, if
Orange
you
Man bad,
decided
or,
it before you did anything, before you wrote
Yeah.
anything, like you've already figured out what you want to say with it. But man, like I can't tell you how many times I spent months chasing something that was just like get to a point where like, fuck, this is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Or like there's like software out there that like even like the place that I work, like we can't afford to pay for it. That would make my life so much easier, like tracking people down and stuff like that. But I have to do that kind of the old-fashioned way of, a lot of the times it's if I really need to talk to someone, I'll just take voter records, find their address, and go knock on the door.
Nice.
And then but you have to assume they voted. If they're not registered to vote, then they're even harder to track down. And then sometimes you're showing up at houses that they don't live there anymore, or so like, and for me, like the only cost that it costs the company is just my time, which costs money. They pay me a salary, so if I'm going on like a wild goose chase for weeks at a time, eventually people are going to be like, you need to turn something around. Like we need to see that this is worth the time.
So you get paid salary.
Yeah, I mean,
Is that typical for a journalist of your style?
Yeah, and technically it's hourly, but it's not really hourly. Like they have me log 40 hours a week, but sometimes I work far more than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's some, and it changes so much, because like some weeks it is just like a normal office 9 to 5. Normally when like I'm just sitting in like an office doing research, which happens, and like that's like my least favorite time when I'm doing the job is when I'm just like on a computer reading things for a while. But other weeks, like I'm out in the world just, trying to track stuff down or get people to talk. And the hours get really weird after that. Like, I remember like the protest season, like in 2020 and 2021, I was working like 18 hours a day, like back to back to back. And that was, I didn't enjoy that. That sucked. But, like, I didn't get paid overtime or anything for that either. So it evens out, I guess. But also it kind of doesn't because I'm never working less than what it says I'm working on paper.
Is there any, like, incentives in your, like, contract? Like or metrics where you have to do a certain amount per year? Or if you have a story that does especially well or anything like that?
No. I mean, it's... at this point, the kind of people you find that still want to do this job are people that are just really driven to do it, like me. And I work with a lot of like really, really talented people that are just like they're about it, and that's like the incentive you get to do it is like you get to do the job. And for some people, that's not enough, and I get it too. Like the amount of people that come into people that are really talented that come into like working for radio or a newspaper or whatever it might be, and then just they don't last 6 months. That's really, really common because you need to be very self-motivated, and you have to like really, really believe in what you're doing, or it's not worth the time. And there's a lot of like I consider that like a public service job in that way. teachers, social workers, all kinds of shit like that. You find the same thing. Either you really, really like it and are committed to doing it, or you burn out really quickly and are done. And it sucks because a lot of like really, really talented people burn out and just leave because it's too much to handle. So you have to have like a certain mentality for it. But point being, no, I don't get any incentives, but I also don't have like any quotas either or anything like that. People will say good job sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
Was there ever like a notable study or topic, story, whatever you chased for a while and it was just a nothing burger, one that sticks out in your head? Like,
I gotta think of that for a second. I know there has been quite a few. I know, again, it was one of those things that happened way earlier in my career.
well, on the flip side of that, what do you think, in your opinion, has been like your biggest successful story, like the one that did pan out?
Well, I mean, I just mentioned that those police overtime ones. I've been doing those for years, and like those actually change policy. Like people that are in charge of like in government are like they read those and be like, what the hell are we doing? And so there's stuff like that. I think the whole Sandra Dorley thing that happened with a district attorney that was caught on body-worn camera. I was the first one to get that stuff out there, and everyone else followed, very quickly followed it, and I want to make it seem like I was the only one doing reporting on that, but like, yeah, no, that led to her like eventually stepping down, albeit on her own terms, and probably to her own benefit, but
So that was the story. She was a district attorney.
yeah,
A cop tried
Currently
to pull her over. She decided, I'm not going to pull over, right? And she basically drove to her house, and then the officer followed her there, and then they had like a verbal whole freaking thing and whatever, and it blew up.
yeah.
So how did you hear about that? How did you know, like, that's the story? Like where do you run me through the timeline. That event occurred, and then eventually you broke the story. What things happened that filled in the gap between the occurrence and then you breaking the story?
So it's really funny, and I'm not going to name the person because they probably wouldn't want it out there, but I have a source that I work with a lot, and he texted me on Tuesday of that week and was like, so I heard that this thing happened with the district attorney, that she was like flipping out on these cops and stuff like that. And I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm trying to remember the exact day. But anyway, so I'm like, that's kind of crazy. So I talked to my editor about it, and I was working on a few different things at the time, and he's like very skeptical. We were both really skeptical of it, and like that's like a wild thing for like the top prosecutor in town to be doing. And so I actually sent all the information I had to my editor, and like I was finishing up a story, and he's like, you know what, I'm gonna just file a Freedom of Information request for body-worn camera footage. Probably not gonna go anywhere. And the Webster Police Department, where she was pulled over, turned it around like within 3 days, like just fastest I've ever had a FOIL request.
That's not common.
No. I mean, I've sat on them for years before, waiting for someone to get back to me. That's very, very uncommon. And I think it was mostly because they wanted it off their plate. Like, they're like, we're not going to try to cover this up or anything like that. We're putting it out there. So it went out, and then we just like, I just like, okay, saw it. Like, that's not good. Wrote that as just quick as I possibly could, and we just got it up there as fast as we could, and that was pretty much how it goes. And that's how a lot of the time it goes. It's just like someone will hear something, and I have a lot of sources that they'll just like text me or call me. I'm like, hey, did you hear about this? And a lot of times like, no, and then I'll just see if I can track it down. And I think a lot of the times it's because just the way a lot of journalism is done at the local level now, you're waiting for official sources to tell you something, or like put out a press release or hold a press conference, stuff like that. And like a lot of the work that I do is more like, trying to be ahead of things.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of like just people telling me stuff, and being able to find out what happened from that. There's a lot of like just reading like the boring stuff of like reading court documents, like reading like lawsuits, reading affidavits and like police reports and shit like that. And sometimes you'll read through like hundreds of pages of something, and then finally like, there's like a little tiny thing there that you'll notice.
Like, ooh, what's that?
And like,
Yeah.
what's that about? And then it will turn into something, you know, bigger. And that's like that's a really, really cool thing about the job. It's like a lot of that shit, there's so much out there, and a lot of it gets overlooked because no one's looking at it. It's just not being seen.
Is there any like ethics involved when you like freedom of information request something like that and get video? Like as a journalist, it's like it's your job to write the story and put it out there. Like,
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a family member of mine and I got the video, I mean, the ethical thing to do is say like, look, and assuming it was a story, like, look, it is a story. I can't write about it. Hand it off to
Conflict of
someone
interest.
else. Yeah, hand it off to someone else and let them do it. And it's like a funny thing. Like even like my family, like while we have like get-togethers, and like I'll have like an uncle telling me like, you know, I heard this thing like that's like going on, and like I'm gonna stop you right there. Do not tell me that unless you want me to do something with it. Like, sometimes it's like do you have to be so serious about everything? And like,
it's my job.
it's kind of my job. Like, don't gossip with me if you want it to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And you know, there's ethical lines that I try really. I do everything I can to follow. Sometimes it gets tough because like you get really close with people in the job, and like they think they're your friend, and you can be their confidant, and then they have to learn like, no, like we're not friends. Like this is not a friend relationship, and most people get it. Like I have sources, like many sources that I've worked with for many years that know what the lines are, and we have those set. But every once in a while, you come across someone who, a lot of them in like kind of prestigious positions that don't understand the lines, and
What do you mean by that? Like they don't understand that you're just doing your job, and they think
it's one thing for me to get coffee with a source,
okay,
and talk about like something that they know and want to get out there, and it's another thing for them to invite me over to dinner. It's another thing to like, hey, I'm having a party tonight. Do you want to come? Like, it's another thing to call me and like, just vent about like their day, and like all of these things are things that have happened where I had to be like, listen, like, get it together.
So you're interacting with them in a way that feels casual, so they think you have a casual relationship, and they don't realize you have a professional relationship because you're essentially at work.
Yeah, I think it is a job that like a lot of the times you have to be kind of affable. You have to be you have to like work with people in a way that's very social feeling. But it's not me socializing. I mean, like, honestly, like, a lot of the time when I tell my friends this a lot because, they're actually like, kind of surprised that I do this job because, like, most of my, like, personality in my personal life, I'm kind of introverted. Like, I don't like big crowds of people and groups of people, and then I do this for a living. And it's like, yeah, no, like, I'm playing a character a lot of the time during the job. Like, it's me, but it's me that is at work, and that's how I act when I'm at work. And yeah, it's
100%, dude.
Yeah,
I'm also very introverted, and it's just I do a lot of social media stuff, and like that guy I play there that's not me.
Yeah,
I'm just playing the role.
And I think it's weird because like I always try to keep those two things like separated from each other. Like this is how I act at work, and this is how I act in my personal life. But like this is the kind of job where it becomes such a lifestyle kind of thing that it gets weird. It gets kind of tough. Like to like delineate like your job shouldn't be your identity. And the shitty thing is for me that like it kind of is in a way too. It becomes part of who you are. Granted, I think the best journalists they are people that live and breathe it, and like it is a part of their life. But there's healthy things about that, and there's unhealthy things about it too. Yeah,
So are you saying we're not actually friends?
unfortunately.
What the heck?
No, man. You're not a source. I'm not doing a story here.
You don't know. You don't know. I know
Yet,
some stuff.
yet.
I know some stuff.
Yeah, you got some stuff to tell me. Let me know.
I'll let you know if I know. Have you ever had like someone you did a story on, or someone that was a source for a story, come at you real hard? Like,
Yeah.
is that a common thing?
Common, yeah. I mean, I would say a few times a month I get
wow.
like someone like blowing up like that because they don't like what I wrote, or
like-
you misrepresented me, or like whatever it might be. But I don't care at this point. Like sometimes I'm just in there listening to someone yell at me and like, just, are you done? Like, is it out of your system now? It's just, it's tough because I do think we are in this kind of phase of the world where a lot of people don't understand what my job is, and it makes it tough to clearly set up those boundaries and clearly have people understand, like, hey, it's not my fault you said that. It's not my fault.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's not my fault that you did that. Like, it is what it is. I mean, you don't do this job if you have thin skin at this point. Like, no one's hurting my feelings anymore. So, but definitely, like when I was like in my early 20s and starting out, yeah, like like a mayor yelling at me would be like devastating and like make me very, very upset. But like now it's just like, I don't care.
Another mayor has yelled at me. You think you're unique?
Yeah, I've been yelled at by better mayors than you.
Ah.
Yeah, it doesn't mean anything at this point. I don't like. I never set out to make anyone angry or like to, put out hit pieces on people or stuff like that. It's not something I do. But like, if I'm doing a story and it offends someone, because it's about them or it has something to do with them, like, if you can tell me what's factually wrong with it, I'll listen to you. But if you're just calling to yell and call me names, like, I don't care. Like, it's just not worth my time.
Have you had to do any retractions or anything you've done in the past?
Never a retraction. Yeah, and I think I've tried to keep count of like how many stories I've done over the years. It's got to be in like the mid 4,000 or 5,000 at this point. Yeah, like it's been a long time. I've been doing this a long time. But never a retraction, which is like totally taking a story down. But edits, like sometimes like facts come up after the fact that we have to edit, and we're very transparent about that. Like, this is what we changed and this is why. Sometimes you get a spelling of a name wrong, and that feels really bad. But like, every time I have to do that, which it's luckily not that often, but it feels bad, even if it's a small mistake, or like I take really seriously getting those things right. But yeah, luckily no retractions at this point in my career, and I don't. I can't think of anyone I know that actually has had a story retracted either. Like that's like a big thing.
That's a big deal. Okay.
Yeah, it's a big deal if that actually happens like that. So
I didn't understand that term meant the whole thing is just scrubbed.
Retraction means like we are taking this story down. And I think in different times that was the kind of thing that's like a fireable offense. Like if your story
really?
is so poorly done, like that we have to retract it. That's like serious problem. I've never had it happen before. Hopefully I never do. I've been tricked before by people. I've been duped, especially when I was younger, of like people lying to me and me believing them. But I've gotten much, much better at catching that before something bad happens. Yeah.
Was that like someone just told you something that was entirely untrue?
Oh, well, the one I think of, and this was so long ago, and it wasn't here either, but there was a guy that I was working with, and it was such like a bullshit story. He claimed to have sold the world's most valuable guitar.
Okay.
It was a very early electric guitar. That there's like 30 or 40 of them in the world or something like that. But he got it notarized of the bill of sale. He went above and beyond to prove that he sold this thing for like, it was like something like $6 million. This was like 10 years ago. So I'm a little fuzzy on the details there, but it turned out what he had done was he got a fake buyer to set up the sale, get a bill of sale, and then notarized it. And his scheme was he had like 4 of these guitars.
Okay.
So once he had that bill of sale notarized, and this turned into a national story when we first published it, that he could sell these other guitars now for millions of dollars.
Oh, wow.
And we published the story, and we were kind of cautious about the way we worded it, and like, that he claims to have sold and stuff like that. But the moment it went out, people started being like, wait a minute, like, this doesn't make sense. And then I caught on to some things that, like, this doesn't add up. So we were able to, like, that day follow up with a story of, like, how dubious the claim was. But for, like, 3 hours, it was like, holy shit, this guy completely bullshitted his way and scammed his way into this whole situation. And I ended up, like, I called him and, like, called him out on it. And he, like, was really indignant about it for a while, and then like I called out the scheme that he had. Like, do you have any of the other guitars? He's like, well, yeah, but they're like worth a lot of. I'm like, okay, you're full of shit. So that was like in my first year as a reporter. I was 22 or 23. So yeah, that's like the one standout to me of like, well, never letting that happen again. And sometimes you have to make mistakes. Luckily, it was a pretty low stakes mistake.
Yeah.
But sometimes you have to make mistakes to learn, and like that was definitely one of them. His name was Nick Lee, by the way. Fuck you, Nick Lee. Like you're a liar, and I hope you're doing the worst.
Oh man, what kind of guitar was it?
It was like an old.
Was it legit? Like, was like it like? Were the guitars he had, were they authentic to what they
They were
say?
real. They were real for what he said they were.
But they weren't as rare and special as he claimed them to be.
Yeah, and I talked to the dude from Groom Guitars, who's like a very well-known guitar appraiser, and he's like, yeah, no, like they are what he claims they are, but like these are like not, like no one cares. It's technically the first electric guitar, but like in such a way that it was like a prototype, and it was like, it doesn't sound very good. No one famous played them. Like they're just not really that remarkable. They could probably sell for like $5,000-$6,000
Okay.
for sure, but
Not 6 million.
not 6 million. Like this is like a guitar that like it's from the 30s and it's an archtop guitar. Those are worth money. They're made by hand. They're high-end instruments, but it's not anything remarkable.
Okay.
So yeah, they were real, but like real in the sense that they were what he was claiming they were, but he thought
he was just trying to manipulate the market.
Manipulate the market
Yeah.
to make it something that it wasn't. And
He was trying to manufacture demand for the product that he had,
yes, exactly.
that he had the supply for.
And he was buying them up like from across the country, and then like he had this whole. It was a well done scam if he would have gotten away with it. But
If it wasn't for you meddling kids.
yeah, it was he really thought this through, and he spent a lot of money to make it happen. But,
and you blew it for him,
blew
dude.
it for him, and it didn't work out. So yeah, and like I say, like I feel like every journalist probably has some story like that.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Of like someone they bought everything hook, line, and sinker. They thought they were trustworthy, and then you do a story and you stand by the story, and fuck, you got played. That's like that's the one time I can really remember that happening. I think that was the only time that I really got tricked by somebody, and it was it sucked. It was I felt so bad about it. Like it was just like I honestly, like, for like a day, like I think I should leave journalism. Like
Oh wow.
yeah, like 'cause this is bad. And But I didn't, and it blew over eventually. It always does. That's another thing just to remember too. Like it's sometimes you get a lot of blowback, and it's just like it'll go away. Like it blows.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything blows over, and it's never that big of a deal. All you can do is if you made a mistake, try to do better, and if you didn't make a mistake, but you still get that blowback, and you stand by your work, stand by your work. I mean, if you can't do that, then there's no point in even fucking doing it.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the reality is we think we're all judged by how we are at our best, but in the reality is you are all judged at how you are at your worst.
You can do 1,000 things right, and you'll only be thought about for the one thing you did wrong.
At the lowest, darkest point, it's how much grace can you conduct yourself with at that point that really sets your character.
And I've gotten much better about that. I think it's growing up, maturity, and like, you know, being an adult and having better control of your like emotions when like you're getting, you know, shit thrown at you. That defines your character a lot for sure. And but yeah, I know like some people that like I went to college with that were like really talented and were like could have definitely made it in the field if they wanted to. But the problem was always like you have the skills, you have the writing, you have the research abilities. The one thing you can't handle is like the emotional aspect of it, the pressure.
That's
stress,
hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, separating yourself from the work. It's the hardest part, and you can't teach it in school. Like you can't teach it in college, and that is something you have to learn on your own. That whether or not you can handle that, and some people can, some people can't. And that's you have to learn that as a young reporter, I guess, and like whether or not you can actually handle that kind of stress. And
yeah,
luckily I can. But I had like a lot of good friends over the years that just burned out because they couldn't do it. Like they just were panic driven. And it sucks to see because it's like, man, just wasted talent. But you'd also be in a job you were fucking miserable at all the time, and you don't make much money either. So like, yeah.
Are there any like either in the past or the present, or actually no, just in the present? Are there any journalists, reporters out there right now that you know they're doing the best job, or they're the ones I like? Like is there any that motivate you, or are you just motivated by your own curiosity here?
You know, it's funny. Like at this point, like I don't think like I look at like the cult of personality of like the journalists themselves at this point, but there's outlets I like.
Yeah.
And like I still do like a lot of like the establishment ones. I read a lot, like the Atlantic, New York Times, are still doing great work. I think there's still problematic stuff with a lot of them too, but I think they're still doing some really good, like the best work. It's really good. I used to love Vice, and Vice was like a huge thing for me when like I was like growing up as a journalist.
Yeah, Vice was sick back in the day.
Vice was so sick back in the day, and now they're like not anymore. Like they're kind of making a comeback, but like it's not going very well.
I mean, the recent stuff I've seen from them looks more reminiscent of the cool, unique stuff they did back in the day.
It is,
but
yeah.
They definitely lost their way for a while.
Yeah, and I loved like I think the turning point for me was like Vice when they had their HBO show, which was like the 2 15-minute segments, was great, and then they did Vice Daily News, and it was like, okay, this is jumping the shark a little bit, and then I think it all kind of just like cascaded off from there for me. But like, yeah, no, I like Thomas Morton and like Shane Smith that were at Vice at that time were like huge influences on, you know, the way I approach journalism of trying to be like that more, you know, gonzo perspective of like, you know, looking at things from a very embedded standpoint. And around here, like Gary Craig, who just left the Democrat and Chronicle, who's the best reporter Rochester had. He just retired, which sucks. Dale Shoemaker is at the Investigative Post. He's doing a lot of reporting on like immigration stuff, and he's very good. And he's you know, relatively young too. I think he's right around my age, and yeah, I have a lot of respect for him. I think he's doing great work. And like honestly, like right now, a lot of the people I work with, I like a lot. That are just really good journalists that are still doing really good stuff, and it sucks because like a lot of our local outlets have just become so focused on like breaking crime stories and stuff like that it's hard to see like what the actual journalist is capable of at this point, because they're so under that wire of doing that kind of stuff. But like I think Berkeley Breen still does good stuff every now and then. He's a very good reporter. Kayla Kane at the Democrat Chronicle is very good, and I think she's doing really good work. So there's people out there doing stuff, but it's such a tough atmosphere right now. It's really hard, and I hope that the people that are doing good work are able to stay in it, because like sometimes I'm lucky I don't have any kids, and like I'm like not married. Like this is a perfect like single man's job of like I can just focus on this. I don't really have any other responsibility to take care of that like I need more money to do, or I need more time to do. So yeah, that's like a shitty thing to watch happen too. Is like a really good reporter has a kid, and then like, all right, going to work in government now.
Well, it's coming from someone that has a 1-year-old. It definitely affects the flexibility of your schedule, which for your job seems like it would be very critical.
It would be very difficult. Yeah, but like I'm not planning on doing that anytime soon, and luckily, everyone in my life agrees on that right now, so that's good.
On the flip side of that question, are there any like big name established journalists that are looked at as like good that you're like that guy's not that good, like they're overhyped or however you want to take that?
I hate saying it, but Bob Woodward. I think that he has gone from like the guy who broke Watergate, like he's very obviously a very good journalist, but like his tactic now of writing books and like holding on to information for his books. This was like a thing he did during like the first Trump administration, where he withheld a lot of information that people probably would have wanted known to make his book. I think you lost your way when you're doing stuff like that. That like that's not what the job is for. It's not to sell.
Yeah, at that point, it's more about you,
it's self-promotion,
than about because you are working for the people. You're breaking the stories because the people need to know. That person is working for themselves. They're interested in their pocket, not everyone else's hearts.
If you ever are able to get to that position where, your reporting is that profitable, that's good for you. But also, like, is that worth the price of your integrity? Like, is that worth the price of your soul that, I can make more money by doing a disservice to the public so I could sell more books? I just kind of fundamentally disagree with that idea.
I guess it depends on the paycheck, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much I could be sold for. There's a number.
Everyone's got a number,
everyone's
Gino.
Got a number.
Listen, bud, I'm not gay, but $20 is $20.
There you go. It'd be larger than $20.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's one of those things that it's a very rare position to even find yourself in that at that point, and like it's, you do you. I just lose a lot of respect for someone when they do stuff like that. But yeah, I know. I honestly like anyone that like is still doing journalism, like actual journalism. I think it's good for just the media ecosystem. Even if sometimes like I just don't agree with the methodology or the way it's done. But like there has to be a different voices out there, and that's a good thing. Not everything I think is right either. So, it's. I try not to be overly critical of other people doing the job, because they're still doing it at least, and like that's. Unfortunately, that's a lot at this point just to even be doing the job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Rock Gone Mad?
I am, yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's not my thing. but I think it's fun.
Yeah.
I don't think it's journalism. I think it's
Okay.
I think it's just fun videos.
Do you know who runs that account? Like, do you have a
That's Nick,
in
right?
with him?
Yeah,
You cut that out.
I do. Yeah, I do know who runs
Oh,
that.
okay.
No,
Oh, jeez.
I don't. I like. It's not my thing. But like, if people like it, people like it. Like
Yeah.
that's cool with me. Like I don't really have a problem with it. Um, I don't like some of it can feel like a little exploitative to me of like people that are clearly just like on drugs, that like
Yeah.
doing something weird. Mostly just because like I've had like a lot of friends that I've lost to drugs that like died, and it's like I don't find that funny. But if people do, they're in public. There's nothing wrong with posting it. So I guess I just don't. It's one of those things that like I guess I don't really have that strong of feelings about. It's just like one of those things that like cool, not for me, but I'm glad people like it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it's fun. So like it's like the car videos that they post on there of like people driving like little go-karts on the street and shit like that. Like some of it's really funny. So yeah.
Well, the person that runs that, who will remain
Who were
nameless,
named anonymous.
he was telling me that people send him some crazy stuff, and he was telling me some random thing that seemed pretty serious, and I was like, that can't be true. If that was true, like I feel like it'd be all over the news. And then he said, I get sent all kinds of stuff that you never hear in the news because the PR is so bad. Is that something that you think is that
Oh, it depends on
real?
what he saw. Like I it's hard for me to say whether or not it's real if I don't know what it is.
Without saying what this particular instance was, it was something that was like, if it were to be true, it would be like huge news, even probably beyond regional news. But it
Okay.
also would make the city look really bad. So, like, basically, what he was suggesting is that, I can't. He basically said, I don't know if this is true, but people keep sending it to me, and if it is true, the implications are pretty big. And if I was wrong, if it is not true, I don't want to look bad for posting it. And I was like, that makes sense. But he said stuff like that seems to happen often.
So no, I think that it's a complicated thing where one, a lot of people lie on the internet. Like for attention.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot of people lie. A lot of people make stuff up. A lot of people fake videos, and it's really easy to do now.
Like the mountain lion.
Whether or not the mountain lion was real or not, but
That was fake, bro. Mountain lion was fake.
but no, the thing too after that, there was like I woke up that morning to like 60 text messages of like clearly photoshopped videos and like and shit like that. So it is really easy to do that, and sometimes things go viral in the Facebook ecosystem that is not true. It's just not real. But like to a critical mass of people, if you keep seeing your friends share the post or whatever it is, eventually it becomes real to you. So you start believing it's true. Whatever they are saying that they saw, yeah, it could be real. Maybe it's not. What I would say is like no one who is actively reporting is avoiding reporting something because it would make someone look bad. Like no one's doing that. Like that's not real. And if you have something that like you want to get out there and you want someone to vet, send it. Like send it over. Like I'm happy to look at whatever. Like I've seen dead bodies before. It's all right.
I think his point was more along the lines of the people who run the city wouldn't want, say there was something happening, like a old school 80s serial killer. Say that was happening, right? And say the police knew it was happening, they were seeing it, right? And they're like, well, we don't want people to freak out. So there's like a big incentive for the police to cover up certain things. Or if it was like girls getting kidnapped or something, like if it was something that could be covered up and it would make the city or the police look bad, there's obviously an incentive for them to try to keep certain things quiet. And
So
I think that's what the
There's two things you just mentioned there
Okay.
that are actually active rumors that have been going around for
Okay.
quite a while.
I was just trying to make up something. Yeah. Okay.
One's the serial killer by the transit center. I don't know if he was talking about
Where's
that.
the transit center? The
On
bus?
North Clinton. That's been the bus transit center.
Okay.
There was a woman who was murdered there. 2 weeks ago. And then the claim that came out on Facebook was that like there's a serial killer going around the
Okay.
transit center. And this is a great example of that. But the reality was it was a homeless woman who was killed by, unfortunately, a very mentally ill, I believe, homeless man.
Okay.
Which is a lot sadder and less salacious of a story than like
Yeah.
some kind of serial killer stalking the transit center. And no other bodies were found over there in recent memory.
So you're saying there's a serial killer
that's exactly
that's
what I'm
riding a
saying,
mountain
yes.
lion around.
Riding a mountain lion around. And the other is that like, and I've heard this for years now, that there's like a guy in a white van that goes around. I've heard it in the South Wedge, in like the East End district, and he like pulls girls and pulls them into the van. I've been hearing that story for years, and not once has like anything ever came up that has even gave an inkling that it's like a thing that's actually happening. Does that mean it's not happening? No, but like you have to do more than just claim something and then just assume it's reality. You have to vet it somehow. So that's just like two examples. So point being, like, if there is something that like you saw that like you're not sure if it's real and you think it's being covered up by the government, I don't work for the government.
That's your job.
Show it to me. I mean, I can't tell you how many times people send me something that is like, this is going to be huge. And then I look at it and like, this is nothing. Like, there's nothing here. Like, or like, this is not real. And, or sometimes it is real. And, that happens too. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think I think obviously I know the city's PR team quite well, and they are not, the masters of reality that you think they are. R.I.P. Ozzy. But, yeah, I mean, it's in their best interest not to talk about things that are going to make them look bad. Sure. I don't think that's conspiratorial, really. Like, that's just the way government works.
Actually, it would be conspiratorial. Because
Conspiratorial.
they would actually be conspiring to, like, by the actual definition, not by the woohoo conspiracy, but like...
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I don't think there's a shadowy
Semantics.
cabal in the Rochester
Exactly.
City government that is trying to hide the truth. But yeah, no, in conspiratorial in the sense that they like will try to obfuscate information or delay request for information or, not go public with information that probably would be of interest to the public.
Yeah.
All those things are true. That does happen. But there's a line between that and like they're covering up this massive thing that's happening. And like, this isn't even a matter of like, whether or not they would want to do that. It's whether or not they're capable of doing that.
Yeah.
They're not able to control social media. They're not able to... And the other thing, too, is, like, if someone has something and they think it's a really big deal and they want to put it out there, but they don't want to share it themselves, that could be... for two reasons. One, because they're worried about their own safety if they share it, which is legitimate. Or because they don't want themselves attached to it because it's not real and they're just fucking with you. Those are both things that do happen too. Very long-winded answer of saying like, yeah, no, be skeptical of everything, but if you have something, I'd like to see it. Like, so that's pretty much it.
Have you ever had something that sounded like complete BS that ended up being like, holy crap, that's real?
Yeah, I know I have. I'm trying to...
On a sidebar while you're thinking.
Yeah.
Do you remember during the riots back in whatever that was, 2020, when someone somewhere said something about the lions got out of the zoo?
Yeah, and they had like the Photoshop picture of it.
And everyone was freaked. That was one of those instances, like as you said earlier, they say it's like a lie gets around the world before the truth gets out of bed and puts his pants on.
A bunch of people I'm just getting home. It's like fucking 1 a.m. I'm covered in tear gas, And then people are texting me this picture of a lion. Like, is this real? I'm like, no, it's not
Clearly
real. Please leave me alone.
I remember a friend of mine, she was babysitting and she was up by the zoo and she's texting me, Dave, there's a lion. I'm like, you're inside a house. Even like first of all,
what's it going to do? It's not coming for you.
Yeah, like it's probably well fed. It's at the zoo. I don't think it's really like, much to worry about.
Yeah. There was no lion. But actually that was just on that point too, like when we first heard about the Daniel Prude thing, that was bad. And like we weren't, when we got the video that morning, watching it was like hard to believe like what I was seeing, like a little bit. So we had like spent a lot of time like trying to figure out like how to, actually approach that. And but yeah, no, like bad stuff happens. There's a lot of things I see on like social media now, like that are like, cops getting in fights with people, shit like that. Yeah, like that stuff happens all the time. There's all kinds of weird shit that happens in the city all the time.
Oh, yeah, it's a city.
Is all of it worth writing about? No. I mean, just because it's crazy and silly doesn't mean it's worth writing about. But, yeah, it's a very interesting city. It's why I like working here. Rochester's just a weird fucking place, and I really love it for that reason.
Who are the scooter riders of journalism? Like, what is there a version of journalism that's like? Is it food writers or something? Like, what's?
I think. Oh man, food writing actually is a good example of that. That has become like such like a cliche thing, and it's really fucking frustrating because a lot of people that write about food have no idea what they're talking about. Like they just don't know anything about food or cooking or culinary arts or anything like that. I think the big one that popped up was, and I used to do it too, was like beer and wine writing.
Yeah.
When like that shit was like really in vogue and like late 2010s, early 2020s, like everyone had a beer blog. Everyone was writing about beer, and most of them just kind of fell off. But like it's one of those things that it's just like if you what's there to say? Like this is an excuse for you to get drunk and write about it. I used to do it. Like I'm not like knocking anyone's game, but I know what the game is too. So yeah, no, that I used to think it was great, but like now I think it's kind of fucking lame.
As a business owner, I find we're on the backside of that mountain now. The breweries that are like closing, I find this far more interesting. Trying to see, like, it's not interesting when someone's riding the wave of some cool trend and everyone wants to do X or buy Y. But then when now it's starting to filter out to see why this one closed or that one closed, that seems way more interesting to me.
I the first story I wrote about like the beer industry was going to retract, like it was going to collapse I wrote it in 2020, and like a lot of people in the beer world were fucking mad at me about it. And
you were right.
I was right. Like yeah, like I wrote a follow up to it 4 years later, and like this is exactly like what we thought was going to happen. Like and people in the industry were so resistant to that idea because like there is no beer bubble. It's not going to.
Oh my god! How
could
like, you not think there's a bubble?
Yeah, like
that's crazy.
And like there was a lot of reasons it was going to pop. It was a fad, and I still love the beer industry. I have a lot of great friends in that world, and I wish them the best. But like it's just kind of like that's the reality of it. Like it was going to go away eventually, and. Now I think there's some really good breweries that are going to survive and do really well, but a lot of them, they're going to close. And I didn't. None of it is surprising to me at all. Like it wasn't. It wasn't when it started happening, and it definitely isn't now.
I always looked at the craft beer microbrew movement, whatever it was. I always thought, I was like, these are almost more so like graphic design companies.
They are, yeah, absolutely.
I always thought that was just as interesting as the beer because, like, I drink IPAs, and like, there's only so different they could be. But the can, man, you could do a lot with that can.
Well, look what like other half is doing. Like they make great beer, no question about it. Is it like remarkably better than any other IPA in the world? No, but their branding is solid. It's consistent. They have like a lot of just great graphic design, and they've been able to just spread. They're it is not about how good the beer is. It's about the branding.
Yes,
and that is entirely what it is.
Good branding, you can be able to tell what the product is by looking at it, even if the logo wasn't on it.
Exactly. Or just like the name of their beers are so consistent in trends. Yeah. And they also were smart too. Like they were one of the first breweries that started making weed seltzers because I think they saw, one, that was like a burgeoning market, but also that the trend was that a lot of people like my age are not drinking as much. And even the younger generation, it's like, it's way less.
I'm picking up the slack for them.
Well, good. Someone's got to do it. But they saw that and were like, yeah, like that's a whole market that we can still get them in the door, and we can still get them buying our stuff if we just offer something else. And it's one thing to do that. It's another thing to run a brewery that's like, okay, no, but we're just making beer. And then it's another thing to run a brewery where it's just like, we're just making like English ales. And then like, okay, so your brewery is going to go out of business because that's not enough to support an industry, one where you need super expensive equipment, and also it's a lot of hard work, and also the return on investment is very, very low. Yeah. Razor thin profit margins.
Who's doing it best in Rochester? Which one do you think is going to
I think Three Heads is doing pretty good right now. Fit the Frame is great.
They're up in Charlotte now?
They're up in across the bridge from Charlotte in Somerville. Okay. So they're in Irondequoit now, and I don't think they're reopening their city location. Strangebird is doing really good. They're making great stuff too. And like Sager Stoneyard right around the corner from here, they those two merging together and like kind of combining brewery operations is a weird idea, but also just brewers with very different techniques, but I think it's working for them. So yeah, and both great dudes. So like I hope it's working really well for them. I hope they're doing well. But like those like stand out to me as like I think those are some like solid breweries that have like they have good branding. They're the right size. They're like not trying to overstep their bounds, and that's how you survive right now. Like you're not trying to open a fucking massive brewery that's distributing across the East Coast because
like K2.
Like K2, yeah.
Yeah, that's something. I own a skate park, right? It's a one-man show. It's crazy business. I've always thought about how long this lasts, when I'm going to close, what ramping down looks like. I've tried to always think of an exit strategy. And I just think I'm like a really small business. I am. Then I see these other businesses that look way big. And when things happen, like with K2 suddenly closing their location, or Black Button suddenly just like, we're closing in like 2 weeks. I don't understand how these companies can be so, like, are they that out of touch with their operations that they like suddenly realize, oh my God, we have to close like right now? Or do they not say anything to the public ahead of time? Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, the K2 one, I mean, I remember going out there when they were first opening their elementary school thing, and just going through the place. I'm just like, this is crazy. Like, this is, like maybe they know something I don't know, but this just seems like way too much. And
yeah.
Their brewery in there was unbelievable. Like, it was massive. And for a craft brewery, it was big. Really, really, really big. And so, like, I was, like, torn. Like, I mean, hindsight's 20/20. You can always say, like, oh, yeah, that was a crazy idea. And it was never going to work. But at the time, it was like, they are popular. Their Empire location is always jamming. They seem to be doing well. Maybe they have some figures that they figured out that, like, this is going to work. The other part of me was like, this is crazy. It's way too big. This is going to kill them. And that seems to be, the latter seems to be what happened or is happening. And then, like, doing research when I was writing about, them closing that place is like, You found the tax warrants. You found the lawsuits for not paying contractors. You found the lawsuits for not paying food companies. And
That's
it's just
the
like,
same stuff I heard.
yeah. So it's just like, that's not good. That really doesn't bode well. So yeah, I was less surprised by the K2 one than Black Button. Really, that was a surprise to me. Then
I didn't even realize you wrote about the K2 one. That's kind of fitting. But yeah, Black Button, for the viewers, they're a distillery, and I believe they were the only distillery in Rochester.
in Rochester, yeah, the first one since Prohibition,
And they were on Railroad Street by the Public Market, and then they expanded down University, right, a block, two blocks down from the skate park, big tasting room, and then they built another facility on down 490 on the west side for, I don't know what's on there, distribution or aging barrels.
I think
or whatever.
that's a barrel. A lot of the barrels are placed there because they their plan was when they opened that place. I think it was like, we're not going to open any of the stuff we're making for like 5 years at least.
Yeah.
Which is like huge investment for long term.
Well, part of me wondered that they're like, all right, we're going to close, but realistically, we have years of product that's aging, so they're going to still have product they could sell
They're
for the
going to
next
sell
5
off
years.
those barrels, I would imagine.
They're going to sell it before it's done aging, or just are they going to sell it and bottle it as it gets done and just not brew anything? Because if you're doing any product you're aging for 2, 4, 8 years, whatever, like, you're planning on really long time scales.
I mean, if yeah, and that's the thing with the distillery. If you're making bourbon, like, you have to know in advance you're going to be a business in 10 years.
Yeah.
In order to make a profit on the stuff you're making today, like all the equipment you bought, all the that place is. Oh God, I wish I remember the number off the top of my head. It was in the multiple millions of dollars how much they put into that distillery, like just the distillery equipment. That stuff is unbelievably expensive. Those condenser tubes and all that stuff.
Yeah, well, yeah. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit because I just was criticizing, saying it seems like they just suddenly closed. Now I'm saying, oh, maybe they have this complex plan. But it seems like if you could sell off the equipment and then you just keep your bottling stuff, and we're not going to make anything new, but we're going to bottle out for the next 4 years until the product's gone, and then see you later. But
I don't think I think if I'm being like giving them grace, I think that there was some things that happened that were out of their control too, and like it's just. A lot of it's the economy. Like, a lot of it is people aren't spending. Like, even if I was drinking, like, I don't think I'm going to buy a $60 bottle of bourbon all the time. Like, it's.
And was their tasting room just a tasting room for their product only? Did they do food or anything?
They did food too.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
They did food and, but all the liquor there was just all them.
Yeah, I mean, still food. Another. High cost of labor, low margin business.
Razor thin margin business. But the real money driver there was actually packaging and selling the products. And but yeah, you have to be. It's to make a facility so big, making so much of a product that the average consumer is buying on a special occasion. It does seem like a little bit of like a bad idea, like that. There's no way that's sustainable. Now, if they remained the same size on Railroad Street, maybe things wouldn't have went that way. But I don't know. Again, hindsight's 20/20 kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know if it would have worked either way. But like, I think when you're trying to get to that scale, you have to go for bigger distribution.
Yeah.
And if you're going for bigger distribution, now you're competing with Jack Daniels. You're competing with Wild Turkey. You're competing with Bullet. Like, how do you do that? Like, these are established brands that, like, the people that like them are never going to drink anything else. So, I don't know how you do that. And especially pay more for our product than what you already pay for.
Yeah, that's even a tough sell, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think that it's easy for me, who knows nothing about running a business, to say, I think that's a good idea, that's a bad idea. But I think they're not the first big ones that have closed. I mean, Young Lion closed a couple years ago. They were one of the biggest craft breweries in the area.
Didn't K2 buy Young Lion?
They bought the brand, yeah.
The brand, okay.
Yeah, so other half actually bought the brewery.
Okay.
They're there in Canandaigua right now. And I don't know if they're still brewing that stuff. I think they are, but I don't know if K2 is still making Young Lion stuff. That was what they were doing at the big production place. They were brewing a lot of Young Lion beer there. Yeah, like that. Empire Brewing closed a couple years ago, or more than a couple years ago, which was also like a big, like original New York craft brewery
Yeah.
kind of place. Used to have a place in High Falls, like in like the early 2000s. It happens, and it's mostly. It seems to be hitting mostly the bigger places, the places that like just got a little bit too large to be
Yeah.
sustainable. Because you're no longer like a quirky business where people are coming to visit and buying your beer. Now you are a big business that's trying to get people to buy it on store shelves, and that's
Yeah.
a whole different industry.
Yeah. Well, I was
Yeah.
at Rohrback like a week or two ago, and they didn't have Space Kitty on tap. I don't know.
That's a bad choice, man.
That's their flagship beer.
Yeah, that's actually really surprising.
Yeah.
That's like their.
I mean, I didn't even think. I just said, "Hey, can I have a Space Kitty?" And she's like, "Oh, did you look at the list?" And I was like, "Why wouldn't you have it?"
I'm really surprised to hear that.
Yeah.
I hope they're doing well.
I like them.
I like them too, and they're good people too.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, John's a great guy, and like really the reason we have a craft brewing scene in Rochester
Oh,
is
awesome.
John Erlob. So, yeah, great dude, and I think they make great beer too. Like
I love Space Kitty. It's like one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, it's awesome, and like all the small tap room stuff they do is excellent. Yeah, I hope they're doing well. I think they are, but I hope they are
right.
too.
A little half-hour beer talk there. for
Yeah,
everyone. That's
yeah.
fun.
I don't like. It's so funny because like I don't even drink anymore, but like I
Yeah.
still get to sit here and talk about beer forever.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're believe it or not, we're right just about our 2-hour mark here.
Holy shit! Yeah, that went
That was
by
a
quick.
great time, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me.
I had
on. This is great.
one last question for you.
Sure.
You could talk. This could be like a meta thing, or this could be a specific one. But like, as an investigative journalist, like what's the goal? What is your goal?
Oh man.
So you can give me like a specific thing where you want to aspire to be working for X one day, or you may take that as just the ethic. You can take that as you want. I'll lob it up. You hit it out of the park, brother.
Wow. The goal is the understanding that I have about the world is that when people don't understand how things work or what people that wield power are capable of doing, and that things happen in darkness, the only thing that can happen as a result of that is more exploitation, the proliferation of more issues of whether it be financial, whether it be violence, whether it be just pure authoritarian approaches to things. When people are ignorant to what's happening around them, and when people are fed lies or fed propaganda or fed things that are meant to only embolden people that already wield power over them, then the whole idea of the democratic experiment fails. So the true goal of good investigative journalism is to give knowledge to people, to understand how the world that they live in and how the people that oversee their day-to-day lives operate. And the hope is that by giving them that information, they can protect what we have. The ideas of freedom, the ideas of all people being equal, the ideas that every person should have the right to live and not be taken advantage of by people that are capable of taking advantage of them sheerly by the positions of power that they're in. So at the core of it, the goal is to hold the people that wield power accountable. Whatever that may look like and how that may play out can happen a million different ways. But if it all happens in darkness, they're never going to do things just out of the kindness of their hearts to help you. There's always going to be people that have the means, the money, the power to only benefit themselves, and that's what they're going to do with it. So I think the goal of the job is to, in whatever big or small way, give a little bit of knowledge to people so that they can at least know what's going on and be able to preserve what we have. That's
freaking awesome.
That's my pitch.
That's great, dude.
Well, thanks.
Love it. That's fantastic. I'm going to hit you with a couple rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And we're going to send this thing home. Do you remember what your first skateboard was?
Yes, it was Zero. The skull board.
The Zero board.
Zero skull, yeah.
I think that was my first board too.
Yeah, that was. I saw. I think New Blood, and like I had to have it. I only had that one for a little while. Then the one I really remember as like my first board that I skated a lot was the Chris Cole Pro model with like the Grim Reaper on it.
Yeah, I had the Zero board, and then I had a black label. Well, I had a Tony Hawk board like everyone had, but the first one I got it at Blades Boards and Skates, which is like a throwback pre-Zoomies store like Zoomies. But it was Blades Boards and Skates. Inline was involved. This is down in Jersey. Yeah, my second board was a black label. What is your most fond skateboarding memory?
I don't know if there's like an individual one, but I just remember like being like 15 and like summer, like out of school, and all of my friends would meet at like this church parking lot in Irondequoit. And there was like a little tiny round rail that was built into the side, and we would like skate there for like 7 hours, like just all day.
Hell
just
yeah.
skate. We would all like gather up our quarters and stuff to go across the street to the 7-Eleven to get Arizonas and like share 2 Arizonas between like 5 dudes, and and then like we just go back home and then do that the next day, and we did that like just every day all summer. So like I don't know if it's like one experience. It's just like that life that I was living as a teenager. It's so nostalgic, and it was just like a really free time in my life.
That's freaking awesome. Who's the most influential person in Rochester right now?
The most influential person in Rochester right now. I don't know, because I think Rochester's so like broken up into different scenes that like, in like some circles like Rock On Mad is like super influential to them.
Yeah.
But like in others, like it doesn't even like touch the radar. I don't think there is one person. Okay. I think there's a lot of people across all different scenes that like are doing their own thing, and they're all making something happen in some way. And me, I'm the big.
All right, there it is. There it is. It's you.
Yeah, I'm the most influential person in Rochester.
Who's your favorite historical figure?
Oh God, that's hard. Not for the political reasons. Like I want to stress that, but like the lifestyle Karl Marx lived is like the silliest fucking thing that's ever, like, he just like was mooching off all of his friends, and like
it's ironic,
and like then just became like this super lauded like historical and controversial economic philosopher. But like he was just like, I don't know, like just like sleeping until like 10 p.m. and sleeping with people's girlfriends. Like that's very, very funny to me. I don't know if he's my favorite, but I just find his whole personal story very, very funny. Also, Teddy Roosevelt for doing the national parks thing. That's dope too.
I'm a huge Teddy fan. Actually, it's the background on my phone, the Teddy Roosevelt thing. All right, that's all I had.
That's all you had?
Dude,
okay,
thank
cool.
you so much.
Oh yeah, thanks.
2 hours
Thank you, man.
On the nose. I was just gonna do an hour and a half, but we were just flowing there. We were vibing. I loved it.
That was good. Like that was fun. I appreciate you having me on.
That was awesome, dude. I'd love to have you back on if you want to break a big scoop here one day or something. I don't know. But
absolutely, man.
We could always. I do this thing weekly, so I'm always looking for guests. So
yeah, if you want to have back on, just let me know. I'll be around.
We could bring in some people you're going to interview for stories, and we'll just get them in a 3-way.
Yeah, we could do that.
We'll get Sandra Jorley in here.
No, you won't. she hasn't talked to me in over a year.
She's not a fan?
No, I don't think so. Oh, well.
Well, tell the people where they can find you, whether it be your writing or your personal accounts. Plug whatever you'd like to plug, sir.
Sure, you can read my stuff at wxxinews.org. You can also follow me on pretty much every social media. My name's Gino Fanelli. It's GinoFanelli. If you Google that name, all my social stuff will come up. So it's
Is
pretty
there
much all
any
the
way
same.
they can support you? Do you have like a Substack or a Patreon or anything like that?
No, but you can support me. As some of you might know, the federal government pulled funding for public media, rescinded funding last week, which puts us in a kind of difficult situation. We're mostly donation supported, but we did get some federal grants that helped support some specific stuff that we did. So we're still kind of navigating that. If you like supporting journalism that is independent, is free, and is also done, I say, pretty well, you can donate to us once or become a sustaining member. I don't see any of that money directly. This is not a pitch to give me money. It's more that,
And where would people do this?
you can go to wxxi.org or wxxinews.org. There'll be all different buttons to donate to us and how to donate to us. You'll get cool stuff in return, too. We have cool T-shirts and hoodies and stuff like that. So if you liked anything I was just talking about and want to read some of my stuff, please do. And if you want to support me and our operation and what we do, that's the best way to do it.
Fantastic. Gino, thank you for all the viewers. You know how you guys can support us. You could share this video, comment on this video. You'll find links to our Patreon, in our Instagram, on our website, etc. If you want to join the Patreon for the skate park, you can join for as little as $5 a month. It goes a long way in the summertime. I think subscriptions like Patreon or Subscribestar or whatnot, I think are really something that are going to help indoor skate parks in the long run. I was talking to the owner of Above Skate Park in North Carolina today. He was not familiar with this type of service. I explained it to him, so hopefully they're going to get on that soon, because our POS doesn't offer like reoccurring payments, so that's just a way you can support us that way.
Very cool.
So right now, I think we're at about $800 a month we get on Patreon, and that's pretty great in the summer months.
Yeah, for sure.
And basically the way Patreon works for people at home is you sign up. So you say right now you go on there, it's the 23rd, you sign up for $10 a month. Every day on the 23rd, Patreon will charge you $10. It actually banks all that money for me into like a savings account, and then I can pull it when I want it. So I don't just get your $10 once a month. I get this like safety net. So right now I'm in the summer. This is the hardest time of the year for me. Sitting in my Patreon right now has been, 9 months of somewhere between $1,600 and $800 a month. It's just sitting there. So it's probably somewhere around $10,000 right now. And after this month, after I pay rent at the end of this month for August, I'm pretty close to that, shoestring budget. So I'll probably pull all that Patreon money out in September to get me just to the finish line to when the weather changes. So
Nice.
thank you to all our Patreon subscribers. Thank you to all our viewers. Thank you, Gino.
Thank you.